We have an enemy that's chopping off people's heads, Christians in particular. Do you know, if you were a Christian, and I have tremendous evangelical support, I think you all know that, but if you were a Christian from Syria, it was one of the hardest places in the world to come into the United States. In other words, if you were a Christian from Syria, very likely going to be just horribly treated, including the ultimate treatment, which is having your head chopped off. It was one of the hardest things you could do was to get into the United States. If you were a Muslim from Syria, it was one of the easier places to come into the United States from. And I'm not saying one or the other. I'm saying, how unfair is that? How bad is that? So we have people chopping off heads and drowning 30, 40, 50 people at a time in steel cages, right? Nobody's ever seen this before. This is like from the Middle Ages. Nobody's seen this. When you see, a few years ago it began, right? With a wonderful young man whose parents I know. It began and nobody saw that. You know, people get shot, people get wounded, people get hurt, it's war. But nobody saw the chopping off of heads. And now you see 40 and 50 at a time on the beach in the orange uniforms. And you see things happening that you haven't seen it. It's like medieval times. We're living in medieval times. We have to stop it. We have to be so strong. We have to fight so viciously and violently because we're dealing with violent people, vicious people. And when I made the statement, and you know, we have laws to uphold. We have laws. They don't have laws. You think they go back? Look, we have laws. And the laws say you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do, a lot, right? Their laws say you can do anything you want, and the more vicious you are, the better. So we can't do waterboarding, which is, it's not the nicest thing, but it's peanuts compared to many alternatives, right? So we can't do waterboarding, but they can do chopping off heads, drowning people in steel cages. They can do whatever they want to do. And, they eat dinner like us. Can you imagine them sitting around the table or wherever they're eating their dinner, talking about the Americans don't do waterboarding and yet we chop off heads? They probably think we're weak, we're stupid, we don't know what we're doing, we have no leadership. You have to fight fire with fire. We have people out there . We have people out there who are so vicious and smart, so vicious, and they really don't know what it is to be beaten. They probably don't even understand. It's probably 30, 35,000 people, and they don't understand themselves. They're beating the United States of America. And they're making things impossible. They're knocking out airplanes. They're doing things that are incredible. They probably don't understand themselves how they're getting away with it. Well, let me just tell you something. If I'm president, they're not going to get away with it. They're not going to get away with it.